Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. And this is our second to the last ATP Live for the year 2023, which is gradually coming to a close. So, welcome to ATP Live Monday. ATP Live Monday is a program brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. You get to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children uh, in 1 hour, and I try my best to answer them. So, welcome. Please help us to share the videos to whichever platform you are allowed to share to. So just share, invite your friends, invite family, and we'll try and answer your questions. Just make sure you can hear me very well. So if you have any questions that is related to the health of your children, you can just post it as a comment on Instagram, on YouTube, or on our page. On Ask the Pediatricians Foundation Facebook page, or even our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatricians Foundation Facebook group. But if you are watching on any of our other groups like ATP Family, ATP Still a Mom, First Time Mom group, you have to click on the video so that you can get to the platform where you are able to post your questions directly, and then I can see them and I can answer them. So thank you so much, and thank you to those of you who have supported our ATP First Aid Care project in the schools. We've been to several schools. I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures on our uh, on our pages, and thank you so much. And we've seen some of you who have also joined the online course. It's been quite amazing. So, but we'll still continue this project. So if you are happy, so what we're doing is going around the schools, giving talks on the first aid care tips, and at the same time giving them the link to the online platform to watch the videos, as well as giving them this reminder booklets, as well as also giving the schools a bigger form of it that they can have in the school as a quick reference point to know what to do in case of medical emergencies. So that's what we've been doing for the past few months, and the project is going to continue into the new year. So we appreciate you being part of it. And if you want us to come to your schools as well, usually we are starting with the secondary schools, and we are focusing on government secondary schools for now. So we are happy to come. So just let us know. And if you also have organization that would like to support us, we are open for collaboration. So please send us a message on our email or WhatsApp, and we'll try our best to respond. I think it's something we all need to do to empower our children and make sure that they all know what to do in case of medical emergencies. So thank you so much. What I'll be doing is to make sure I'm pinning the videos and sharing the videos. So please do the same. And if you have any questions, you can start to post your questions now, so that we'll have enough time to answer them over the next 1 hour. Just to remind you that even if you have questions after the live session, you are welcome to you can always post your questions on our Facebook group from Mondays to Saturdays, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So you have not missed so much at all. If you are late, for some of you who are watching the recording, you are free to post the questions on our Facebook group, and we will try and answer your questions as quickly as we can. Okay, so I think we're ready to start now. Please put your questions on our Facebook group. Sorry, put your question under the platform you're watching on. I think I need to, okay, yes, I'll see what I'm looking for. And then we'll try and answer them. We just have an hour to do that. So please do the needful. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I can't see any questions yet, so I'm just also sharing, making sure everybody can see. Because some people will say, oh, I didn't see it on time. So that's why we're doing it now. So making sure everybody can see. All right. Welcome, Instagram people. Welcome, Facebook. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome, whichever platform you're watching on. And like I was saying, this will be the second to the last ATP Live Monday, because from the 18th of December, we're going to go on a break. Usually we go on break the last 2 weeks of the year so that our volunteers, moderators can have time to enjoy the season with their families. So there'll be no ATP Live from the 18th of December, and then we'll come back on the 8th of January. So that is how it's going to be. So enjoy the holidays. But our group, our websites, pages will always be open. But this time around, you're going to do it yourself. So if you want an answer to a question, you will have to search for the answer on the group by yourself. And so please make sure during this season we prioritize the health of your children. If you're going to travel to the villages and going for holidays, please make sure you know where the health facilities are in those areas, so that if you have any medical emergencies, you know what to do, you know where to go. So please, let's make sure that we do the needful. All right. I think I don't have any questions yet. So if you have any questions, how come I don't have any question on Facebook? I hope you can hear me. Feel free to post your questions. I've not seen any questions, so I'm just the only one. Facebook people, I can see you are there. So just comment, let me know that you can hear me, and I'm not. Let me be sure that there's nothing wrong. Just let me know you are there. And if you have any questions, you can start to drop your questions now. Instagram as well. You are welcome to ATP Live Monday. This is the second to the last ATP Live Monday for the year 2023. We've had over this is the 41 episode, so almost every week we've been here, apart from the holidays and a few time that we cannot make it. So that's been wonderful. So, and all these videos are available. You can always watch them and you can see most of this answer. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lua Fisayomi. So you can hear me loud and clear. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, somebody also let me know that they can hear me on Facebook. Great. Okay, so thank you for confirming that I'm live. And please, if you have any questions, ask your questions now. But I was just telling us, while I'm waiting for the questions to start dropping, that we just have one more Monday after today for ATP Live Monday. And after that, ATP will go on holidays for 3 weeks. Then we'll be back on the 8th of January. But there are many ways you can still get answers to your questions. If you go on our Facebook group, you can always go to the search box. And if you put in your keyword of your question, maybe you want to know about fever, you want to know about jaundice, you want to know about pneumonia. If you just type in the keyword into that search box, then you'll be able to see all our posts on such topics. And unfortunately, Facebook has taken off topics on Facebook group. We used to have topics, which is even easier because you can just go for the topic you want and you will see all related posts on that. But you can see search, and then you can most likely you will see questions that are related to your current question that you want to ask her, you can just read the answer, and that is what to do. And please, if you are traveling, make sure you are very conscious of what will happen if you have X emergencies. So, as you're getting to the village, make sure you know where the health centers, the general hospitals are, so that if you have any health issues, you know where to go. We get a lot of questions like, oh, I'm here, I'm in a village, and what do I do? There is always an health center in every village in Nigeria. There should be an health facility within 30 minutes drive of wherever you are. You just need to know they are there. So you need to know where the health centers, general hospitals are. So in case you have any emergencies, you know what to do, you know where to go. Of course, make sure you keep the children safe, warm. Let's make sure in the cooking and all that, let's keep the children away from the kitchen. Let's keep them away from fire, because burns are emergencies that can happen. When you are traveling, go with your basic first aid items. Make sure you have your ORS, make sure you have your paracetamol, have all those basic things that you may need um, with you. And if you're not traveling, if you're staying home, that's also fine as well. But just be aware that the hospitals don't close for the holidays, so we're always open 24/7. So there's nothing like, oh, it's holidays, I can't. No, if your child has an emergency, you can go to the hospital even on Christmas days. I'm not praying for any of that to happen, but just to kind of create awareness that there is nothing like it's Christmas or it's New Year, we can't go to the hospital. The hospitals are going to work all through the 365 or 366 days of the year, depending on whether it's a leap year or not. So we're always open, and you can always go to the hospital if you have any emergencies. Okay, seems like I may have a question in the in question box for Instagram. All right, so Zola, it's a good evening, doctor. I have a 15-month-old baby girl with strange swellings on her legs. Strange swelling on her legs, okay? As one heals, another pops up. It left so many dark spots on her legs. It heals quite fast though, but it's worrisome. Okay, thank you, Zoe, for that question. That sounds to me like a child who is at what we call papula urticaria. Papula urticaria is a big jargon for a kind of an allergic condition. So children will have this allergic condition. They kind of react to certain things. It could be as simple as insect bites or the grasses or dust. They just break with this little swelling, like you mentioned, and it could be itchy sometimes, it's not itchy sometimes, but after a while it will pop open, drain like little clear water, and then it will heal and leave those spots. So we call it papula urticaria. It's a kind of a sensitive kind of skin reaction. So the most important thing for those conditions is to know what the triggers are. What are those things that tend to bring it on in your children? Like I said, some children it could be insect bites, some children it could be anything. It could be dust, it could be walking through the grasses. They just start having this itchy feeling, and then have that eruptions, and then it can become that spots and all that. So the most important thing is to know the trigger and avoid them as much as possible. If you know what normally trigger of your child having those urticarias, you need to avoid it. Sometimes you may not know. Sometimes it could even be food, it could be drugs, it could be many things. But insect bites are one of the most common ones, especially those who are going to travel during this period and go to the village. And some of those areas, they have all these tiny insects that tend to bite children, and then they start having all these urticaria rashes. So if you can identify the trigger, you avoid it. And if you can't, you may also when sometimes there's nothing you can do. When it happens though, we can now give some medication like anti-allergy medication to kind of suppress the eruption. So that is what we do, give anti-allergy medication like antihistamine. A popular example would be Piriton and the rest of them. But that is when the child has an acute episode. But the most important thing is to see if you can avoid it as much as possible. It's something intrinsic, it's something like that is who that person is. So such people are always going to be sensitive to certain things and coming down with those rashes. Another question mothers always ask is how do they get rid of those spots? The spots will clear with time. It's not something that is going to clear straight away, but it will clear over time. There are no drugs or special products or special creams that are going to make it fade away, which is what most people want, but there are none. But over time, it will clear. The most important thing is as long as the child does not keep having it again, which is why you need to avoid any trigger with time. So, for example, we said during the evenings you want to wear children long sleeves, so that so you make sure that their legs are always covered, because most of those insect tends to happen in the evenings. So when they're outdoors, make sure that they're wearing long sleeves or long trousers, something that will cover their feet and their hands as well, the exposed part of the body. You want to make sure that you keep their nails short, because usually when children have those rashes, they tend to itch a lot. And when they're itching, it's also creates more marks on their body. So you want to make sure that you want to reduce the itching. Then you want to use a lot of what we call products that are not sensitive, that are hypoallergenic, that are likely not going to create a reaction, like your plain Vaseline, Blue Seal without perfume, your urea and all those olive oil, all those coconut oil. Those are good for those people who have sensitive skin. You don't want to use things that have chemicals that are going to make life worse. So those are the things you can do. But the good news with purple urticaria is that most children outgrow them. As they get older, they outgrow them. So it's not something to worry about. All right. I hope that's helpful. All right. Let's go on. The next question. I have one more question on Instagram. If you don't like this on me, hello, doc. My 3-year-old child has adenoids. Okay. It doesn't disturb him. Okay. And he has only had cover kata once this year. He has only been prescribed antibiotics once this year. Okay. What's your question? My question is, what age do they outgrow it? Okay. That's a good question. So let's start by saying that adenoids, tonsils are normal. They are normal part of the body. They are what we call lymphoid tissues. They are part of the body that produce certain antibodies that help us to fight infection. So we like to have them in the body, but unfortunately, sometimes they get bigger. And when they get too big, because they are around the airway area, they kind of narrow the airway. Okay, and usually they tend to get bigger as the children go bigger, but usually by the time they're about 5 or 6, then they begin to shrink again. So most of the time the surgeons will kind of watch and wait to see whether they will shrink on their own and the children do not need operation. So that is what we normally wait on. But some children really have very, very big ones that is causing narrowing of the airway, and such children have what we call obstructive sleep apnea. In other words, when they are sleeping, the adenoids kind of compress on the airway or obstruct the airway. Let me use the right terminology, and that way they will stop breathing. So the child will stop breathing, and we worry about that because when they stop breathing, oxygen is not getting to the brain and all that. So so in such children we have to remove it. Or sometimes they get so infected recurrently, such children are always having adenotonsillitis. They will need antibiotics so often. Usually if you have up to 6 episodes in 1 year, that child needs to have an operation to take it out. But most children will usually wait for around between by the age of 4 to 6. Most of them will shrink. By the age of 6 years, it should have become a non-issue. But if your child is already 6 and is still having adenoids issue, having obstructive sleep apnea, having recurrent infections, blah, 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 those children will need surgery. Okay, so I hope so. Your child is 3 and is not having much symptoms. We will just watch and wait and not do anything about it. All right. Okay. Let's go back to Facebook. We have a few questions. Do you have a hospital we can visit? One for ATP members? Okay. No, we don't. We don't have an hospital that is labeled ATP hospital. However, there are doctors who are members of ATP who have their own practices, including private practices. So so you meet ATP doctors in the hospitals. But we run ATP clinics, so we run our ATP video consultation clinics. So if you send us a message on our WhatsApp number, there are things that our doctor specialists can do for you virtually. And for those in Lagos, sometimes we also do face to face. But otherwise, we don't have like a hospital per se, but we have doctors who work with us who are part of our team who can do private consultation with you one on one. So that is what we do. Okay. All right. I hope that's helpful. If you have more questions around that, just send us a message on our WhatsApp number. You get all the details. Mavis, good evening. Okay, sorry. Okay, I think I've answered. Okay, no, sorry, I think I jumped a question. Chinwe, this Chinwe, I think it's Chinwe. Okolo, my 6 month gets startled with loud noises. At what point should I get worried? It is normal for children to get startled with loud noises, especially for newborns, and especially for very loud noises like a blender. I mean, I won't be surprised if any child gets upset with blender, even older children. So it is too noisy, it's too loud. So there's nothing wrong with a child. I mean, if at anything it is telling you that your child's hearing is okay, at least the child can hear. I'll be more worried if you put on a blender or hair dryer or hand dryer and your child does not even behave as if anything happened. That will worry me more because that means the child is not hearing. So it is perfectly normal for children to react to sudden loud noises. What you need to do is to avoid having your baby near such sudden loud noises. So there's nothing wrong with that. Happy Durotoye. Good evening. My baby is 9 months. She weighs 9 kilo. Is the weight okay? Yes, the weight is okay. We have an article on our website on what is my baby's ideal weight and how you can do it yourself. How do you know whether your baby's weight is okay or not? So you may want to check out that article. But 9 kilos is the average weight of a 9-month-old baby. So that is a perfect weight. Also, she has refused swallowing her food. She will hold the food in her mouth and won't swallow. She only wants to be taking water. That is not normal for a child not to be swallowing food. So make sure you are giving the right texture of food. Make sure the food are soft. Make sure you are not giving only one type of food, which is for my Nigerians, we all like to give our babies pap and milk, and that is what most people do as complementary food. Does not. And sometimes the children just get bored of this same thing. And I always separate if you are the same and you are eating rice, CDS every day, you will be bored. So if you can imagine giving your children pap, morning, afternoon, night, they are going to be bored. So you need to make sure you give variety of food. Make sure the food are soft, well cooked, small pieces. Encourage the children to eat model eating for them. If you need more tips on complementary feeding, you can go to our Facebook group, go to the guide section and go to guide 2. There are lots of videos there you can watch on complementary feeding. There are posts that also address all these tips on how to encourage our children to eat. So you need to go on that. And if you are doing the right thing and your child is not swallowing, you need to go to the hospital because we have to make sure there's nothing affecting the child's throat and we need to make sure the child is fine. All right. Owe Amanda, good evening. I want to ask whether colicky. I want to ask when does colic stop in babies? Okay, colic. Okay, infant colic tends to stop around 3 to 4 months. So most children should stop having colics by 4 months. It may be a little bit longer in some babies, maybe 5 months, but usually by 3 to 4 months, we should not be dealing with colic anymore. So if your 8-month-old baby is not sleeping at night, don't assume colic. Okay, colic is not the only reason babies don't sleep. And not sleeping is not the definition of colic. Colic means a child who is crying continuously for a certain number of hours every day for absolutely no reason. That is the definition of colic. So a child who is not sleeping does not necessarily mean the child has colic. So a lot of mothers always don't know what colic is, or they assume everything is colic. So your 8-month-old is definitely not having colic, and it is not colic that's not making a child not to sleep at night. So if your child is Your child can also have constipation. Your child can also have indigestion, depending on what time you are feeding the child. So for your 8 months or your babies on complementary feeding, you should give them that food during the day. Don't be feeding them solids and complementary feeding in the middle of the night. So that will cause indigestion. So they need to have eaten enough time for the food to digest. The only thing you should be giving them at night is breast milk, not solid food. So if you are doing that, that may explain why your child will be uncomfortable at night, and that is why the child will not feel comfortable after the pass too. So that has to do with the way you're feeding your baby, what you're feeding them, the time you're feeding them, the quantity you're feeding them. That has absolutely nothing to do with colic at all. So, and then by this 8 months old, you should be working on your baby's sleep routine. Your baby should not be awake at 12 midnight for an 8 months old. They should be sleeping more at night. That is more of a newborn issue. By the time babies are getting towards 8 months, 9 months, they should be having a sleep routine that is more of sleeping at night and being awake during the day. And the only time they should wake up in the night is for them to breastfeed, not for them to be so awake and all that. And so you need to work on how you're feeding your baby. And again, go to our complementary feeding guide in our Facebook group, and you will have more information on that. Somebody said we should give you our WhatsApp number. So our WhatsApp number is showing right there on my screen. I don't know whether you can see it. It's showing on my screen. I can see it from here. And that is the +2349056916818. It's actually showing on the screen. You're asking on Facebook, so you definitely should be able to see it. It's right there behind me. So, and if you also look at that scroller, that thing that is scrolling on my screen, the WhatsApp number is there as well. Or if you go to our Facebook, anywhere you look for our any of our platform, you'll see our numbers there. But it's actually showing straight on my screen. But maybe I should just shift a little bit so that the screen you can see it better. Just let me know if you can see it. But later I'll be writing it out for you when I have the opportunity to write. Is complementary feeding to begin exactly on the day the baby turns 6 months old? Yes, the answer is emphatic yes. Yes. Okay, so let's go back to Instagram. Let me quickly write, since I have a break, let me quickly write the number for the person who is asking about our WhatsApp number. But it's actually on this back of my screen. But let me just write it, because maybe the picture is not so clear. Okay, so that's our number. All right, let's go back to Instagram. Okay, I've answered that one. Tell me, good evening. My 13-month-old has rash on her neck. I took her to the hospital. Okay, good. Doctor said it will clear. It got cleared and came back again. So yeah, I don't know what the rashes are that your baby had. So if you go to the hospital, the best thing to ask your doctor is not just to be comfortable with the doctor just telling you the rashes are going to clear. The question is, what kind of rashes my baby have? Is it an infection? Is it a reaction? Is it itch rash? There are different kind of rashes. So if you ask your doctor, then the doctor will be able to answer that. Then number two, what caused that rash? So because if you know what causes it, then you know why it's going to go by itself. Of course, it's not every rash that requires treatment. Some rashes are going to go by themselves, and some depending on what is causing it. And then what can I do, or how do I prevent it? Those are the questions you need to ask your doctor. So since it's come back again now, you can go back to your doctors and ask all those questions so that they'll be able to tell you exactly the type of rash, what caused the rash, and what do you expect, or is there something you can do to prevent it, so that your doctor will be able to, like I was talking about popular urticaria. I don't know whether you were listening at that time. So that's an allergic kind of reaction, kind of rashes. And what you can do is to know what triggers it off and avoid it as much as possible if you can. Maybe it's insect bite, you wear long clothes, make sure your children are not exposed to all those insects and all that. So those are the kind of questions you need to know, because that's the only way you will know what to do and how to prevent the rashes. So but you can always go back to your doctor for a follow-up review. Tell me, okay, if I don't look for Adesami, in jaundice caused by ABO, does it only involve O positive mother? Will it affect, does it affect B positive as well? Okay, so for ABO incompatibility kind of jaundice, it affects only mothers who are O positive and who have a baby who is not O positive. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So as long as the mother is O and not necessarily O positive, anyway, as long as mother is whole and a baby is either A or B or AB, then there's what we call a setting for ABO incompatibility. So you are going to be at risk if you are a mother who is blood group O and you've married somebody who is A or B or any other blood group, then your babies are, because you can always have a baby who can be A or B or O like yourself. As long as you're having a baby who is not O, then your baby is what we call ABO setting. Okay, but it does not necessarily mean your baby will have jaundice all the time. So sometimes your baby may still not have jaundice, but sometimes they will have jaundice. So for those who may not be very familiar, we're talking about, we have different way of classifying our blood groups. So we have the ABO classification, we have the rhesus, which is the positive or negative one. So for mothers who are O, it means you don't have any antigens on your own blood group, but you have antibodies. So you have antibody A and antibody B. So when your blood is exposed, when anybody's blood that is not your own gets into your body, your antibodies will fight those foreign blood, red blood cells, and destroy them. It is supposed to protect you. So, but for a mother now, so when you are whole, you have all these anti-A, anti-B. Well, if your baby is not old like yourself, your baby is A or B because you've married a man who is A or B or AB, it means that in the process when you have your baby, because there's a link between you and your baby, your baby's blood will come to you. There's a mixing of mother and baby's blood. What that means is that your babies will become sensitized. So your own antibodies will go into the baby and will begin to fight your baby's blood, red blood cells, and that's why your baby will be breaking down the red blood cells, and that's why your baby will have jaundice. So that is the setting for that. So there's nothing you can do about it. What the most important thing is for us to be aware. So once we know that can happen, then we are going to monitor your baby for jaundice and we treat them aggressively. So once the baby is born, we are checking the level for jaundice. We're putting them under phototherapy because it can be quite severe. Sometimes their blood level goes so low, we have to give them blood as well. We have to exchange the blood. So as long as your doctors are aware and they treat it, then that's what we need to do. There's nothing you can do about it because you cannot change your blood group and your baby's blood group cannot be changed either. So, but if it happens, the doctors have to be on the lookout for the jaundice, treat the jaundice aggressively, and you'll be fine. All right. Okay, another question from Unique Cakes. Good evening, ma. Thank you so much for all you do. You're welcome. My baby is 4 weeks today. I noticed my baby's head is falling off. In fact, he has some patches of baldness. Is there something I should worry about? No. So it is normal for babies sometimes to lose their. Sorry, I think it is normal sometimes for babies to lose their hair. It is part of the natural hair cycle. What you need to watch out for is are there rashes or anything under your baby's scalp that can explain the hair loss. So some babies can have what we call a fungal infection or ringworm on their head, or they can have even cradle cap. They can have all sorts of rashes under the scalp, and that can also cause loss of hair. So there are many reasons why people can lose hair. Some lose hair, it is just natural hair loss. The hair will grow back, but some lose it because of either fungal infection, ringworm, all those things, even bacteria, anything, cradle cap, those things can also cause hair loss. So as long as there's nothing causing the hair loss, you cannot see any rash or any unusual thing on your baby's scalp, it's nothing to worry about. But if you see any of those ones, then you have to see your doctor so that they can treat whatever it is that is causing the hair loss. Okay. You say your child was put on antibiotics. So antibiotics does not cause hair loss, so cefuroxime will not cause hair loss in your baby. It's not one of the side effects at all. So yeah, and you can read the leaflet. So for every medication you're giving your child, always read the leaflet so you can read what side effect to watch out for and all that. So it is not. Okay, Fumi said my 7-month-old is sitting and he's been running temperature. He's not playing or eating. What can I do? You have to take this child to the hospital. This child is not teething. It's not the cause of the fever. It's not the cause of the child not eating, not playing. This child is sick. Okay, don't assume teething. The child could be teething on his own, but it's not the teething that is making the child to be sick. That is something different. So the child who is having fever, who is not eating, who is not playing, that child is sick. Nothing to do with it. That child needs to go to the hospital. We need to know what is causing it so that we can address it. Could be something as simple as malaria, could be viral infection, it could be bacterial infection. There could be many things that could cause a child not to be well. So what you need to do now is to take the child to the hospital, let them examine the child, and if we know the cause from examination, we'll tell you. If we don't know, we may need to do blood test, food blocker, malaria parasite, whatever we need to do, urinalysis, urine culture, and then we can treat whatever is causing the infection or the illness, sorry, not necessarily infection that the baby may be having. All right, so let's go back to Facebook. Good evening. My toddler, 2 years old, squeezes a lot, especially when he wakes up in the morning. What do you mean by squeezes a lot? When he wakes up in the morning, I'm not really sure. Is it that stretching that people do when they're awake? I mean, that's normal. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know, unless you want to expatiate what you mean by squeezing a lot. But it's normal for people, even adults, when you wake up, you wake up and you stretch your body and all that. There's really nothing wrong with that. Somebody said my 2 weeks old is struggling with blocked nose. What is blocking the nose? This is our dry saline drop is not helping, no temperature. No. So what is blocking the nose? It's not every blocked nose that you're going to be putting saline drops. You need to see that there is mucus, thick mucus that is blocking the nose for you to put saline drop. Saline drop is not like a magical drug. It is just to soften the mucus so that the mucus will flow out. So if you don't see anything blocking your child's nose, there's really no need for you to put any saline drops in the nose of the child. So it's very important that we understand that. So if your child is struggling with is uncomfortable, is struggling with his sleep, if you said a GP, okay. Fortunately, it was not struggling to breathe then. Okay, that means your child is fine then. Came back home, the child's nose is congested. That's a little bit confusing because if you said a GP, you come to the hospital and your child is fine, it's very unlikely the child will not be fine. So maybe you may just watch the temperature around you. Make sure, I know it's a bit cold now, so make sure the child is warm, make sure you're breastfeeding and all that. So if the child is not having any nasal congestion in the GP's office and had congestion at home, then you need to watch what is it about it at home. Is it that the area is stuffy? Is there some perfume? Is there anything you're using that the child is reacting to, allergic? So you have to start thinking wild. So make sure your room is well ventilated, make sure it's warm, make sure you're not putting on perfumes or spraying things, anything that could irritate the child's airway. So that's what I would recommend for your baby. But for me, 2 weeks old, just watch for now. All right. Let's see. I don't think I have any question again. Okay. All right. Unique cakes of answers. All right. We have okay, Chinwe, we've answered your question. We've answered your question. We're even getting started about to loud noises like a blender. I've answered that question. There's nothing to worry about. It is normal for babies to react to loud noises, and blender are quite noisy for most, even for adults. So there's something wrong with that. All right, we've answered that question. Some of you post your question, but then you disappear. Okay. All right. Okay. Am I the one? Okay, maybe I'm the one reading it second time. All right. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I don't think I have any more questions. But if you still have any question, we still have about 20 minutes to go on the show. So feel free to post your question. And like I said, we're going to be um going on break from the 18th of December. So I will see you next week, but after that, I'll be seeing you next in January. Oh wow, that sounds amazing. The new year is coming. That's great. I will be seeing you in January 2024. On the 8th of January. We usually take a break towards the end of the year. So feel free to maximize the remaining 2 weeks that you have in the year. Feel free to ask the questions. Feel free to go to our Facebook page and group, and you can learn for yourself. I doubt there's any question you will ask that we have not answered before. We really answer thousands of questions every week. So it's very, 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 very likely that the question you may have, we must have answered them at one point or the other. But if we don't have answers to your question, then you can always go to the hospital. And like I said, our doctors, they will be working throughout the whole year, so there's no excuse for not going to the hospital. And there's nothing like ATP is not around, that's why. No, please do the needful. All right, okay, let's go. I think I have one more question. My baby has the back my baby always have the back of his head always out. What's the cause? Okay, first, how old is this baby? Always start every question with the age of your child. That's number one. Number two, if your baby feels hot, get a thermometer and check the temperature of the child. If the temperature is normal, then the child is not hot, because the temperature has to be, your baby is 5 months old. So make sure you first check temperature, because if you have been holding your baby back of the head, if you're holding your baby in your hands and there's always contact between you, the back of the baby's head, and your own body, which is how most parents, most mothers will hold their babies in their hands, it's not unusual for that place to feel warm, but does not necessarily mean that the baby has any issues. So make sure that you allow enough air circulation around the baby. And like I said, if you think baby is hot, get a thermometer, measure the temperature. If the temperature is above 37.5, that is what we will call being high. There's no reason why a part of the baby's body will be hot, like the back of the head only will be hot and the rest of the body will be fine. That doesn't really, there's no reason for that. Okay, the only thing I can think of is sometimes you've been carrying your baby and that place has been in contact with another thing, of course, and there's not enough air circulation around it, then that may explain why it may feel warm to you, not necessarily that there's anything wrong with the child. So we don't rely on hands to gauge temperature or anything. We rely on an instrument, usually in this case, the thermometer. All right, I hope that's helpful for the person who is asking. All right. So if you still have questions, feel free to drop your questions. So while we are waiting for more questions to drop, I'm going to be telling you all the resources that you have that you can use when we are on break. So first, we have our website, www.askthepediatricians.com. And if you go on our website, you can read on all topics that are related to children's health, from complementary feeding to breastfeeding to immunization to hernia to circumcision. So we have all these topics covered, skincare and everything. So sometimes just go to our website and you can read and you will learn. Two, we have our podcast, Ask Dr. Bemi ATP podcast, which is available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, most of the podcast platform. Just Google it and you will see the podcast, and you can listen. If you are the type that loves to read, go to our website. If you are the type that just loves to listen, you can listen to ATP, Ask Dr. Baby ATP podcast, and you will hear me talk about all this, like a full 1 hour teaching on all these various topics that has to do with the health of your children. And if you like to watch, you can go to our YouTube channel, ATP TV. All these videos, all these 41 episodes of ATP Live 2023, they are still there on our YouTube. All the various ATP hour sessions, they are there on our YouTube. So you can also watch us on YouTube. So these are the ways by which you can learn while we are away. And of course, our Facebook group will always be accessible to you. You can do it yourself, DIY, just posting your keywords from your questions into that search box, and the answers or related posts will come up, and you can read and you can get answers to yourself. And of course, after that, you have to get to the hospital. All right. Okay, the person was asking about squeeze. Okay, say I meant sneeze, not squeeze. Okay, typo. All right. So for us, typo can can derail us completely. So okay, thank you for your correction, because I was wondering what squeeze means. So sneezing for a child in the morning, it depends on how bad it is. It is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with sneezing, but if your child have to sneeze several times every single day when they wake up first thing in the morning, we are going to worry about possible allergic kind of condition. Like children who have what we call allergic rhinitis, they tend to sneeze a lot in the morning. So and sometimes it could be a reaction to something. It could be the fact that the temperature is changing. It could be something in the air, the smell, the smoke. It could be perfumes and all anything that can irritate their nose anyway. So if it is really very bad, like your child sneezes so much, and they're always, putting their hands, we call it the allergic salute. They're always doing that on their nose. They always have a running nose. They're always sneezing. That may be allergic rhinitis, and you may want to see a pediatrician or ENT doctors. But the most important thing for most allergic thing anyway is just to avoid the triggers. But sometimes we have to treat some with anti-allergy medication, and that's where you have to see the pediatricians or the ENT doctors. I hope that's helpful. All right, Ugo Chukuvera, good evening. Is it normal for 6-month-old baby, when I put him to stand on my lap, holding him, he doesn't stand with his right feet? Right, you mean the right leg, but carries his left, although he was not carrying his weight on both legs. Okay, so normally at this age, we don't expect babies to stand anyway. At 6 months, it's not the time for children to start standing. So I'm not really worried about you trying to stand up a 6-month-old baby. Most of them are not ready to bear weight on their legs yet. Okay, so just let the baby be. Can your child sit? Do they have neck control? That is what I want in a 6-month-old. Does the child has neck control? Check. Can the child sit even with pillow or support? Fine. If your child can do those, that is fine. Stop trying to force the child to stand and all that at 6 months. So because some children doesn't want to stand, that's why they will just remove the one leg. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. If you think there's something wrong with those 2 legs, you have to see a pediatrician. Then they can examine the child for you, and they can tell you based on the examination whether there's nothing wrong with the legs or there's something wrong with the legs. But we cannot assume first. But like I said, also standing at this age is not the priority. We want the child to have neck control. We want them to and we want them to be able to at least sit with some support. That is all we want for the 6 months old. So stop forcing them to stand on their leg. All right. Okay. So he also pees a little with some orange mark in it. All right. Orange mark in a child's urine could be what we call urate crystals. Urate crystals. There's something we all have in the urine body become visible if there's some kind of dehydration and all that. So just make sure you're breastfeeding your baby frequently and on demand, because that's what we expect for your 5 months old to be on breast milk only. I will not worry about orange as long as you're sure it's not blood, because blood will be red and if it is blood you have to go to the hospital. But if it is orange, it could be urate crystals, sign of dehydration, nothing to worry about. Just make sure you breastfeed your baby more frequently. Okay. Ugochukwu, again, you're 2 years, 6 months old. You're always disturbing me about. Unfortunately, I don't remember. I don't remember all the questions or who asked them. Okay, so she was visiting last, she started working last month. Okay, good. She was bottom shuffling, but now works well, but still bottom shuffles. She's learning to put herself into standing position, but works well. Okay, that's good. That's like a testimony. Okay, that's great. I'm happy your baby is working now. That is what we want. That's fine. No need to worry. I guess you are just giving us an update. Great, 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 great to hear that. Instagram is like, I don't have any more questions there. That's fine. Shukura say my 4 month old baby sucking be making sound like he to pull or holding me tight doing as if his stomach is disturbing him, but he has not pulled for 2 days breastfeeding. Okay, that's fine. Babies on if babies on breast milk only, they don't have to pull every day. All right, so it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. And when they eventually pass their stools, the stools will be normal, soft, and nothing wrong. So it's nothing to worry about. Uh, Making sound, maybe make a lot of sounds doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. They make all these what do you call it now, like if they are groaning sounds and all that. Is sometimes they do that even when they don't want to pull, even when they don't want to wait, they just do those sounds. So it doesn't mean they really want to pull. That's why they are making the sound. You When you make that sound, you know you want to pull, but that does not necessarily apply to babies. They make those kind of sounds all the time. It's nothing to worry about. But when your baby is ready to pull, your baby will pull, and as long as the pull are soft, the texture is soft, there's nothing to worry about at all. So just keep breastfeeding your baby exclusively. I hope that's helpful. All right. Okay, just checking that we don't have any more questions on Instagram. No. Okay, great. Okay, so we're running up close to the end of the program. If you still have any questions, you're free to post your questions. But after this live session, you can post your questions directly to the Facebook group. If you are watching a recorded version of this ECP Live, please do not post your question as a comment. I do see a lot of comments for people who have come hours or days after, and they put their questions there, and they are surprised that nobody is answering them because they watch it as if it is live, but it's not live anymore. So if it is no longer live, if you are watching it anytime after the 4th of December, after 7 p.m. Nigerian time, you are not live. So you need to post your questions, but you can watch the video. But if you have questions, you have to go to the Facebook group and you can post your questions there because we can't answer your questions live. Doctor, what is wrong with giving a baby tea? So when you say baby, how old is the baby? So we said no, the only beverage you should give all children less than 1 year old is milk and water. No tea, nothing. They don't need any tea before the age of 1 year. The only beverage they need, if you're that is even from 6 months old, you can give them water and you can give them milk. Okay, so what is in tea? There's nothing there. Most of those things just like if you're giving them like the normal Lipton tea, it's not about calories and all that. And children, they don't have enough space in their tummy. So if you load that tummy with tea, then when are they going to get the food they're supposed to? And then there'll be no space for food. And when there's no space for food, you are causing malnutrition. So we don't want children taking tea. We don't want their tummy being filled with liquid that is empty of any calories or just empty calories. So please give them food, give them milk, but no tea, and no, that's fine. For your children above the age of 1 year, if you want to give them tea, it's fine, but please don't load them also with tea as well. Some of us we just give children tea, and they have no space for their tummy in their tummy for real food. That is causing malnutrition. So you don't want to giving these children tea or all these unnecessary drinks. If you want to know more, we have a lot of we have a guide section on healthy drinks for children. You may want to check on that. All right. Somebody is asking, can I give my 10-month-old baby ginger and garlic tea? No. No, the answer is no. Okay, you have you asked your question before the person will say, why can't you give baby tea? All right, so no ginger, no garlic tea, no tea. Your baby don't, all these things that you give yourself because you are trying to, whatever you are trying to achieve, lose your weight, do this, all those things they tell you, please just leave the children out of them, okay? All those, your garlic, your honey, your this, your that, leave the children out of all those things, okay? They don't need it, okay? All that this 10-month-old baby need is complementary food, and the only drink the child should be taking is breast milk. You can even give age appropriate formula and water. Nothing else, nothing more. Don't give them garlic, don't give them ginger, don't give them anything. Most of these things, even some of adults cannot take it. You want to start giving to children, then you now complain that their child doesn't want to eat food because you are giving them something that they will not even tolerate well. But it's also not going to give them any calories and all that. Their food at this age, we want them to gain weight, we want them to be active. So they need energy, they need to gain weight. That is what you are giving them food for. You don't need to give them any of those things for the reason for which you are taking them, which I'm not going to go into because it's not a pediatrician's business anyway. When will baby stop bottom shuffle? When the child wants to stop, I mean, usually when most children, once they are walking by themselves, and they stop bottom shuffling. So it's for the child to decide when she's ready to do it. We can't force the child, but if the child is walking, then once they become more confident with the walking, then they don't, because the goal of whether walking or bottom shuffling is to move from one point to the other. So if I can do it fast by bottom shuffling, I'll do that. If I can do it by walking, I'll do it. So if your child is walking, then they will do it. But usually, because initially when your child starts to walk, they are not going to be as fast like when they are crawling or bottom shuffling. So you see that even children who walk, sometimes they also go back to crawling because it's faster. But after a while, when they become more confident and fast with their walking, then they will stop the crawling or the bottom shuffling. So it's very from one child to the other. It's about their confidence. All right, I hope we are okay with the tea question. No tea to any infants, no tea. Please give them food, give them milk, not all this sugar and water and all those things we're giving as tea. No. All right, can mother eating bread too much affect the baby? No, it can affect you, but it won't affect your baby. All those myths that people spin around about you eat bread and your baby will have constipation, it's not true. It's just meat and meat. It's not true at all, because what you eat is not what goes to your baby straight away. The food that your baby is going to eat as a baby on breast milk is over digested. Breast milk is already prepared, so it is not the bread that you eat that you give to your baby now. How about it is water, milk that has been digested. So, and that is why your baby do not pass through every day, because when they suck, almost everything is absorbed. Only very little is left to be passed out as stools. Unlike babies on formula, because they can't absorb everything. So those ones are always having to pass stools a lot. But babies on breast milk, they almost everything is already pre-digested. So they just absorb most everything. So that's why they just only bring out gas, because there's little or nothing to pass out. So they have to accumulate it, let it join together and become a lot and form a big enough mass for it to be pushed out. So that is what happened in breast milk. So they don't have too much waste to bring out, so that they can go for 2 weeks and not pass through, and it's still normal. So it's nothing to worry about. So it is not because you had bread or you had this, or no, it has nothing to do with that. Whatever you eat before it gets to your baby, it will have been digested by you, absorb into your body, and then the body will now make breast milk out of it. So it is not the same thing you had that your baby is having straight away. I hope that is helpful. Okay, all right, Shukura, you finally understood. All right. Okay, I think our time is up. We don't have any more questions on Instagram anyway. And Facebook, I think I've answered all your questions. Thank you so much for joining us. If you still have any questions, feel free to post your questions to our Facebook group. And I just want to remind you that we'll be going off air from, I think, next week Monday. That should be 12, I think 13 or 12, whatever. Yeah, or 11th rather. That will be our last ATP Live for this year, 2023. I want to use this opportunity to wish you all happy holidays, compliments of the season, Merry Christmas in advance, Happy New Year in advance, and I will see you next week. But after that, we're going to go on break, and I will see you in 2024, which will be awesome, awesome year. So have a wonderful, disease-free, healthy, no accidents, no burns holiday. But if you have any issues while we're away, that's what I was trying to tell us what we can do. Our website is there. You can read. Our podcast is there. Our YouTube channel is there. Our Facebook groups are going to be accessible. You won't be able to post new questions, but you can do it yourself search for questions and you will get the answer. So instead of our moderator doing it for you, you have to do it for yourself. But please, if you are going to travel, you are going to go out of your usual location, please make sure you know where the hospitals are. Make sure you know where you need to go if there's an emergency. Please make sure you do that. Go with your usual first aid medication, ORS, paracetamol, oral zinc. Make sure you have all those with you. And of course, if you're not traveling, that's fine. At least you know where you normally go. And the hospitals are always going to be open. We hope you won't need it, but just in case, just for you to be aware of what to do. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'll see you on Thursday when I'll take another episode of ATP Hour. I think I'll be discussing another vaccine preventable diseases, and then I will see you on Monday for another episode of ATP Live. Before then, it's bye from me. Bye, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.